The Legend of Jigong, Chapter 18.
We are looking at a classic standoff here.
Yeah.
You have Prime Minister Shin, who, this is a man who represents the absolute apex of political and militaristic power. And his manager has just been beaten by this highly eccentric, magical figure that everyone knows as the Mad Monk, Jigong.
Right. And the prime minister reacts the way basically any insecure autocratic leader reacts when their pride is wounded.
Literally, exactly. He deploys just a staggering amount of state violence to crush a gnat. He sends 2 generals, 500 Capitol Guard troops, and a small army of regional constables to surround the Lingyan temple.
Oh, just to arrest this one single monk.
Ugh.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the state's enforcement arm arrives at the temple. But big surprise, they don't find Jigong.
No, they don't. They find the old abbot of the temple, Yongkong,
Right.
a man who honestly has absolutely no idea where his rogue monk has vanished to.
Which kicks off just an absolute masterclass in the absurdity of institutional blame.
It really does, because the constables are operating under orders from the very top. They know they cannot return to the prime minister empty-handed, so they simply, whip out their iron chains and lock up the abbot.
It's like that. And their justification is literally just that he dared to be the master of a monk who offended the state. It's just the pure mechanical application of guilt by association.
Yeah, it demonstrates how a bureaucracy under pressure completely divorces action from intent. The constables, they don't care about actual guilt. They only care about fulfilling a quota of bodies to present to their superior.
Right, they just need to bring someone in.
Exactly. And it triggers this rapid, chaotic collapse of the temple's internal structure. Anyone who steps forward to mediate or, plead for reason is instantly categorized as an accomplice.
Because the temple attendant, Zhang Rui, he asks for leniency, so they chain him.
Right, and then the guest prefect, Yao, tries to protect the attendant, so he gets chained.
It's just a domino effect. The supervising monk, Guang Liang, and the fasting head, Hui Ling, they both get swept up in the exact same net.
Yeah, within minutes, the entire senior management of this spiritual sanctuary just dragged out in irons and marched to the prime minister's mansion.
It's basically toxic corporate blame shifting, right? Where middle management gets fired for the actions of a rogue employee. But wait, let me push back on this for a second.
Sure.
Is the prime minister really just acting as a tyrant here? Because in any strict hierarchy, authority flows downward, but so does accountability.
That's true.
The abbot is the leader of the temple. He holds liability for the people operating under his roof. So isn't this just the harsh reality of leadership? If your subordinate goes rogue and assaults an official, the state naturally looks at the manager who failed to manage him.
Well, that is the administrative logic the prime minister would use, certainly. But what's fascinating here is how the text reveals the sinister psychology of how that accountability is actually enforced.
Okay, how so?
So, put yourself on the floor of the prime minister's flower hall. The 5 monks are dragged in, chained, and forced to kneel in the dirt. But the prime minister, he doesn't face them.
He hides, right?
Yes, he sits hidden behind a curtain. He can see them perfectly, but they were completely blind to him. That curtain isn't just a piece of fabric. It's an architectural tool of psychological terror.
Wow, yeah.
It creates this intense asymmetry of visibility. Power operates in the dark, entirely insulated, while demanding answers from people who are exposed, terrified, and just utterly vulnerable.
The sensory experience of that is terrifying. You are speaking to a disembodied voice that has the power of life and death over you.
And that terror produces an immediate breakdown of solidarity among the monks.
Right.
When the prime minister demands to know which one of them is the mad monk, they realize none of them are the actual target. Instantly, Guan Liang, the supervising monk, shifts the blame.
He calls it demonic magic, doesn't he?
Exactly. He claims Jigong used demonic magic to beat the manager, which is essentially him saying, "We were powerless, it has nothing to do with us, please spare us."
Just completely throwing him under the bus.
Totally. Faced with the terrifying, arbitrary force of the state, their institutional loyalty just evaporates. They throw Jigong under the bus to save their own skin, which really proves how fragile organizational solidarity is when confronted with absolute power.
Yeah, and while the elites are hiding behind their curtains and the middle managers are desperately pointing fingers to dodge blame, the real cost of the prime minister's vanity is being extracted from the working class.
Right, the real-world consequence.
Exactly, because the action shifts away from the mansion and down into the dirt, specifically to the temple's great stale pavilion, The prime minister has ordered this beautiful, publicly funded sanctuary to be demolished just so he can reuse the materials to build a massive vanity tower for himself.
Which is the literal dismantling of the public good for private glorification.
Yeah.
And standing right in the middle of this active demolition site is Jigong, pointing and laughing at the workers tearing it down. This scene gives us a profound micro-study in the mechanics of karma, told through the choices of two very different construction workers.
Okay, let's look at the first one. The worker up on the roof who is having a severe crisis of conscience.
Right.
He knows that destroying a temple built on the alms of everyday people just to satisfy a corrupt politician is a huge moral failure. But he's still a blue-collar worker who needs his daily wage of 200 coins to survive.
He has to eat.
Right. So he tries to split the difference. He uses his shovel just to gather loose tiles together. He acts like a modern car engine equipped with a governor. He's putting in the fuel. He's making the noise of working. But he has intentionally restricted the gears so he doesn't actually drive the destructive outcome.
I love that analogy.
He is basically quiet quitting, doing the absolute bare minimum to survive the system without actively participating in its cruelty.
And then Jigong points a finger at him.
Yeah.
The worker slips and plummets 7 to 8 meters off the roof. It is a fall that should shatter his legs, if not kill him outright. But he lands perfectly unharmed on his feet.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, and the text emphasizes his internal realization here. He doesn't brush it off as just a lucky break. He interprets it as a direct, physical communication from the divine.
Like a warning.
Exactly. He realizes that if he had been actively swinging his hammer to destroy the sanctuary, the earth would not have caught him so gently. The mechanism of survival requires a clean conscience. So he immediately walks away from the job site, abandoning the wages to preserve his life.
He just walks away. Which brings us to the second worker, the opportunist.
Oh, this guy's.
Yeah, this guy sees the exact same demolition site, but he runs a completely different calculus. He looks at the destruction and sees a guaranteed profit pipeline.
He does the math.
He figures out the math.
Yeah.
2 months of wages for tearing the pavilion down, another 2 months of wages to build the prime minister's vanity tower, and then inevitably another 2 months of wages when the political winds shift and they have to rebuild the temple.
Right.
He calculates 6 months of solid income, all generated by a cycle of corruption and destruction.
He is not just doing a job. He is actively rejoicing in the suffering of the community because it lines his pockets. And just as he is relishing this mathematical windfall, Jigong points at him.
And his fall is very different.
Violently different. He lands directly on a 3-pointed stone, and the text is visceral and unflinching about the anatomy here. The stone pierces his feces gate.
Oh, man. Just brutal.
It completely incapacitates him.
But here's where it gets really interesting, right? Because the brutal symmetry of that is what stands out.
Yes.
The universe doesn't just punish him arbitrarily. He calculated that he wanted exactly 6 months of profit derived from the community's suffering. In return, the injury puts him out of work, bleeding in his bed, for exactly half a year. 6 months.
It's perfect accounting.
The universe delivered the exact duration of his greed in the form of intensely personal physical suffering. But I have to ask, is Jigong dispensing genuine justice here, or is this just chaotic, petty revenge? He's literally inflicting physical harm.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it redefines how we are supposed to understand karma in this narrative framework.
Okay.
It isn't some abstract cosmic ledger that gets tallied up in the next lifetime. It is an immediate mechanical reflection of intent.
Right.
The universe acts as a mirror. The first worker tried to soften the blow to the temple, so the earth softened the blow of his fall. The second worker tried to extract maximum pain for personal gain, so the earth extracted maximum pain from his physical body.
Okay, so Jigong is operating as this localized conduit for immediate karmic feedback.
Exactly.
But he doesn't get to just stand around dispensing construction site justice indefinitely, because the physical enforcement arm of the state, the guys who've been wandering around chaining innocent people, they finally locate him at the demolition site.
The bureaucracy finally catches up to the anomaly.
Yeah.
And they bring the absolute maximum level of brute force to the encounter. You have 8 heavily armed constables from the Linen Prefecture.
Wait, 8 guys for 1 monk?
8 guys. Zhao Da, Wang Er, Zhang San, Li Si, Sun Wu, Lu Lu, Genki, and Ma Ba. They swagger up, throw a heavy iron chain directly around Jigong's neck, mock him for the disaster he has caused, and attempt to drag him away.
The physical comedy of this standoff is just brilliant, but it's also deeply philosophical.
It really is.
Because Jigong doesn't fight back. He doesn't, like, summon a lightning bolt or use aggressive magic to repel them. He simply sits down in the dirt and begins chanting a Buddhist mantra.
Yeah.
Which goes, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Chiling Sia.
And that chant is critical to understanding the power dynamic here. Om Mani Padme Hum translates roughly to "the jewel is in the lotus."
Right.
It is a meditation on remaining pure and grounded, even while rooted in the mud of the world, which is profoundly appropriate, given he is literally sitting in the dirt of a destroyed temple.
Oh, that's a great detail.
Yeah, he isn't casting, a Harry Potter shield charm. He is physiologically and psychologically anchoring himself to the earth.
So the constables try to pull the chain. One guy pulls, nothing happens. He calls over a second guy, they heave together, nothing. Finally, all 8 of these burly, state-sponsored enforcers grab the iron chain and pull with everything they have.
All 8 of them.
And the text notes that Jigong is like Mount Tai. He is fundamentally immovable. 8 men, representing the absolute monopoly on violence possessed by the government, cannot move a single seated monk 1 inch.
Because the state's power is entirely coercive, right? It relies on the threat of physical movement and pain. When someone simply opts out of the physical rules of engagement, that power just evaporates.
It's useless.
They have the badges, they have the chains and the numbers, but against pure, grounded conviction, brute force is rendered entirely impotent. The state is suddenly looking incredibly foolish, sweating and straining against a man who is literally just sitting there breathing.
And then enter the 2 clever constables from Renhe County.
Yes, Tian Lai Bao and Wan Hingshan.
Right. They walk up, they see this massive struggle, and they just start laughing at the 8 enforcers. They mock them for playing tough guys in the guardhouse, but being completely useless in reality.
And they make a bet.
Yeah. They bet their own jobs that they can move the monk without using a single ounce of physical force.
Which is such a bold move.
Mm-hmm.
Because their approach requires a complete deconstruction of their own authority. They don't walk up and grab the chain.
Right.
First, they straighten their clothing.
Right. They fix themselves up.
They adjust their hats, they tighten their belts, and make themselves presentable. They transition their physical state from enforcers of violence to respectful citizens.
Yeah.
Then, they walk up to the man with the iron chain around his neck, and they drop to their knees.
They drop all the physical markers of aggression and just leverage pure vulnerability. They address him as holy monk. They explain the bureaucratic chain of suffering in plain terms like, we have no grudge against you, but if we don't bring you in, the prime minister will torture our boss. Our boss will fire us. And if we lose our income, our wives and our children will literally starve to death.
Right.
They lay their entire livelihood at his feet and just ask for his compassion.
And the response is instantaneous.
Yeah.
Jigong laughs. He says, if you had just spoken to me like that in the first place, I would have walked with you immediately.
He knew all along.
He did. He playfully asks for their names. Fully aware of who they are, he stands up under his own power and willingly walks with them. The arresting officers, led by a man named Constable Zhao, are escorting the monk along the Sioux Causeway by West Lake.
And for you listening, you really have to picture this specific geography.
Definitely. The causeway is this bustling commercial strip, absolutely lined with wine shops.
It's loud, it's public.
Very public. It is full of distractions. And right in front of one of these wine shops, the monk abruptly stops. He just sits down on the ground and flat out refuses to move.
Which, my first thought reading that was, why doesn't Zhao just grab him by the collar and drag him?
I mean, that would be the standard police response.
Right. They outnumber him 8-1. They're armed officers of the law, but instead, Zhao, he asks him if he needs to rest. He tells Zhao that if he wants this transport to go smoothly, the officers are going to have to spend their own money to fuel his alcohol addiction.
And he doesn't just imply it.
No, he explicitly calls out their corruption. He says something like, you officers are used to relying on mountains to eat mountains and relying on water to eat water.
What's fascinating here is how the monk diagnoses this systemic reality of these constables.
Yeah.
Relying on mountains to eat mountains, relying on water to eat water. That is a direct indictment of how they operate. They use their authority to extract bribes, free meals, favors from local citizens.
They just skim off the top of whatever environment they happen to be in.
Precisely. The monk is essentially saying, you extract resources from the powerless every single day. Today, you are the resource and I am the mountain.
It's like getting arrested but refusing to get in the police car unless the cops buy you an expensive dinner first.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a computer virus that doesn't delete your files, but instead encrypts them and charges you a microtransaction for every single click.
That's a perfect analogy.
He's trapped them in this malicious, bureaucratic loop where their only way forward is to pay him. It fundamentally breaks their understanding of how the world works.
But the psychological warfare doesn't stop at the wallet, though.
Yeah.
It extends into actual physical consumption.
Oh, the drinking.
Right. The monk demands 20 pots of wine from Constable Zhao.
Hey, pots!
20 pots. And the moment the wine shop brings them out, the monk begins throwing them back, just downing whole pots in a single gulp.
And while he's chugging this physically impossible amount of alcohol, he starts reciting a poem.
Which is such a contrast.
It is, because I expected a bawdy tavern song, but the text gives us a highly moral, philosophical lecture. He advises people to drink less so they don't go mad. He preaches about abstaining from lust to ensure a long life.
He claims that righteously gained wealth is protected by heaven.
And that restraining your anger prevents disaster. It's just incredibly hypocritical on the surface. I mean, he's literally chugging 20 pots of wine while preaching about the dangers of drinking too much.
Hypocritical, yes, but think about the psychological mechanism of that cognitive dissonance. How does it actually affect the constables?
It has to be infuriating. You are watching a man actively drink himself into a stupor on your dime while he lectures you about temperance and righteous wealth.
Precisely. By forcing these corrupt cops to listen to pure traditional moral teachings while they actively fund his earthly vices, the monk strips them of their moral high ground.
Wow. Yeah.
He's saying righteously gained wealth is protected by heaven to men whose pockets are lined with extorted silver.
Oh, that stings.
And he's saying restrain your anger to men who are boiling with rage but are politically paralyzed from acting on it. He makes it impossible for them to assert any kind of ethical or legal authority over him.
Which makes the aftermath of this first drink even more striking. So Constable Zhao finally goes to settle the tab for the 20 pots.
Yeah.
He reaches into his pocket and discovers he has exactly enough money, down to the very last coin, not a single penny more or less.
And Zhao is completely rattled by this. He asks the monk how he knew the exact amount of pocket change he was carrying.
And the monk delivers what can only be described as a playground insult.
It really is.
He asks Zhao, "Did your wife give you that money when you woke up this morning?" Zhao confirms it, and the monk casually replies, "Well, that's because I was the one who gave the money to your wife last night."
Just brutal.
Wait, hold on. Your wife joke? In the middle of an arrest by a supposedly holy man?
Yeah, it's jarring.
That feels incredibly juvenile for a master of Zen Buddhism. Is he just trying to get a rise out of them, or is there an actual theological point to being this petty?
This raises an important question about the nature of the holy fool archetype in Eastern literature.
Okay.
Is the monk genuinely mad, just operating with no filter? Or is he deliberately using this crude humor, combined with what looks like terrifying magical omniscience regarding the exact pocket change, to completely disarm secular authority?
I mean, think about the effect of that joke.
Right.
He has reduced the intimidating Constable Zhao, a man who carries a weapon and represents the state, to the butt of a marital infidelity joke in front of his entire squad.
And you cannot fear a man you are laughing at.
Exactly. And you cannot respect a commander who has just been publicly humiliated by a prisoner.
The authority just evaporates. But the ordeal is really just beginning.
Yeah.
We move from this initial humiliation into what I can only call the gamification of corruption.
Oh, the mileage part.
Yeah. They walk a short distance. The text says 2 li, which is a traditional Chinese unit of distance, roughly a third of a mile.
Okay, so barely a walk at all.
Right. And after this brief stroll, the monk just drops to the ground again.
Because he refuses to be led by Constable Zhao anymore.
Exactly. And the reasoning he gives is strictly economical. Zhao is completely tapped out. He has 0 cash left.
Right.
So the monk demands a shift change. He tells Constable Wang to take over the leash, so to speak.
So Wang checks his pockets and realizes he has exactly 400 cash. And the text notes this is enough for exactly 10 pots of wine.
Another exact match.
Yeah. The monk forces Wang to buy the 10 pots, immediately drinks them, walks another 2 li, and stops again. But here's the detail that absolutely blew my mind.
Reaction from the cops.
Yes. The constables do not try to physically force him. They do not threaten him. Instead, Constable Wang starts complaining about the fairness of the extortion exchange rate.
The psychology of the squad has completely fractured by this point. They've stopped acting like authoritative law enforcement and started acting like petty accountants.
It's absurd.
Wang complains to the monk, pointing out that Zhao got 4 lives of walking out of his 20 pots of wine, while Wang bought 10 pots and only got 2 lives out of it.
I mean, I have been in this exact situation, but it was with friends splitting a bar tab.
Right.
Someone always does the petty math over who drank more of the shared pitches or who ordered the expensive appetizer. Like, well, I only had 1 slice of the pizza, so I shouldn't pay a full third.
It's a completely mundane civilian argument.
Exactly. But these are officers of the law arguing with their prisoner over the exact mileage they're getting out of their bribes. Why are they complying with this? Why accept this bizarre new reality?
Because the monk has imposed a perfectly logical, albeit inverted, system of rules onto them.
Oh, I see.
He shuts Wang down with undeniable mathematics. He says, Zhao bought 20, you only bought 10. The math is the math.
You can't argue with the math.
Exactly. The constables are bureaucrats at heart. They understand transactions. By framing his rebellion as a series of rigid, mathematically sound transactions, the monk speaks their language. He just changes who is collecting the tax.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because the escalation goes from impressive manipulation to just physical impossibility.
Right, because Wang is broke, so Constable Zhang is up next.
Yeah, and Zhang is known to have a running tab at a local wine shop called the Drunken Immortal.
And the monk, exhibiting that strange omniscience again, he knows this. So he bumps his demand up. 10 pots isn't going to cut it. He demands 30 pots from Zhang.
Which is wild, and Zhang is stunned by the sheer volume. I mean, he just watched this man consume 30 pots of wine and walk over a mile. So Zhang asks him, Master, how much do you actually drink in a single day?
And the answer is just unreal.
The routine he outlines sounds like a bizarre industrial process rather than a human diet. He claims he drinks 2 caddies of wine when he wakes up, 2 caddies for breakfast, and 2 caddies for dinner.
And to put that in perspective for you listening, a caddy is a traditional measurement roughly equal to a little over a pound.
Right, so he is casually drinking his own body weight in wine throughout the day, but then he says that at nightfall he stops drinking.
Yeah.
Instead, he jumps into a giant wine vat and soaks his entire body in it to satisfy his cravings, like a marinade.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of the narrative, this soaking in a vat claim serves a really vital purpose.
How so?
Well, up until now, the constables might have just thought they were dealing with a deeply manipulative, highly tolerant alcoholic.
Sure.
But no human biology can process that volume of alcohol, let alone use a wine vat as a marinade and remain alive. The monk is using the sheer absurdity of his consumption to signal that he operates entirely outside the bounds of human limitations.
Oh, wow.
Physical laws do not apply to him, which implies that human laws certainly do not apply to him.
It systematically breaks down the entire squad. I mean, by the time they finish this journey, the text explicitly notes that all 8 constables have been forced to buy him drinks. Every single one of them.
Every single one.
He has drained their finances, established total dominance, and essentially transformed the police squad into his personal entourage of reluctant bartenders.
Which perfectly sets the stage for the climax of this excerpt.
Oh!
He has completely flipped the dynamic at the bottom of the power hierarchy, the street-level cops. But the journey has to end eventually. They finally arrive at the very top of the hierarchy, the residence of Prime Minister Qin.
And the tone of the text completely whiplashes here.
Oh, totally.
The humorous, leisurely extortion on the causeway violently collides with the terrifying, majestic reality of their destination. The guards at the Prime Minister's gate instantly start barking at the constables, berating them for being slow.
Yeah, it is a harsh reminder that while the monk was bullying the cops are actually at the very bottom of the food chain in this courtyard.
Exactly.
The author wants the reader to feel the crushing weight of institutional power here. We get this beautiful, poetic description of the estate.
Yeah, it lists Quilin ornaments, right?
Yes, mythical beasts symbolizing immense prosperity. It details massive screen doors, treasure chariots, elegant zithers, and priceless antiques. The text explicitly states that this residence is second only to the emperor in nobility.
Wow.
If the constables are the petty foot soldiers of a corrupt system, Prime Minister Qin is the untouchable general.